Okay, Hare Krishna. So today we will be covering Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 2, Chapter 5, text number 5, and I will share my screen. Very short verse, not much commentary either, so might be a very short class. Okay, so text number 5. Well, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Atmanam bhavaya sheta Atman bhavaya setani na para bhavayan swayam Atma shaktim avastabhya urnanabhir ivaklama. Word for word. Atman, Atmani, by self. Bhavayase, manifest. Tani, all those. Na, not. Parabhavayan, being defeated. Swayam, yourself. Atma Shaktim, self-sufficient power. Avastabhya, being employed. Urnanabi, the spider. Iva, like. Aklamaha, without help. Purport. The best example of self-sufficiency is the sun. The sun does not require to be illuminated by any other body. Translation. As the spider very easily creates the network of its cobweb and manifests its power of creation without being defeated by others, so also you yourself, by employment of your self-sufficient energy, create without any other's help. Purport. The best example of self-sufficiency is the sun. The sun does not require to be illuminated by any other body. Rather, it is the sun which helps all other illuminating agents. For in the presence of the sun, no other illuminating agent becomes prominent. Narada compared the position of Brahma to the self-sufficiency of the spider, who creates its own field of activities without any other's help by employment of its own energetic creation of saliva. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So this was Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 2, Chapter 5, text number 5. And in this section, Narada is questioning his father Brahma, and the question he specifically asks is, he's asking in the first verse, he's asking, please tell me that transcendental knowledge by which please tell me that transcendental knowledge which specifically directs one to the truth of the individual soul and the super soul. So now Narada has just spoken this verse number 5, and he says, as the spider very easily creates the network of its cobweb and manifests its power of creation without being defeated by others, so also you yourself, by employment of your self-sufficient energy, create without any other's help. So one thought that just came to mind even before, discussing Prabhupada's purport here is that if one were to read this verse without the context, then you most likely would not assume that whoever is speaking about Lord Brahma. You would probably assume that they're speaking about the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, Krishna. It says that you yourself, by employment of your self-sufficient energy, create without any other's help. And I would be amazed if someone were able to guess without context that this is speaking about someone other than the Supreme Lord. So this is just one thing that was interesting to me, just thinking about how when we do quote verses from Shastra to make a point, it's important to consider the context of those statements as well, because something like this is clear. If if this verse were to be quoted, just to cite something, some nature of the Lord, in one sense, you could say that this does pertain directly to the Lord, but we understand that there's some context here. So actually, Lord Narada, it's Narada speaking about Lord Brahma, and he's speaking in this way, explaining how, Lord, Brahma, you're my father. It seems like you are self-sufficient. So this is kind of Narada explaining how Brahma's creative potency seems to be working in such a way that he's not dependent on anyone else. And so Prabhupada gives this example in the purport of the sun also. He says how the sun doesn't require to be illuminated by any other body within the universe. The sun is self-illuminating, and it is the source by which all other things in the universe are illuminated. So this is another example that Prabhupada is also giving of an energy within the universe that seems to be self-sufficient. And so, and Narada was comparing Lord Brahma's self-sufficient or seemingly self-sufficient position to a spider, and how the spider is able to create a web from its own body without the aid of any outside energies or anything like that. So in this way, you could say the spider is self-sufficient. But obviously, as we know, if we were to dig one layer deeper into these analogies, what is giving the sun? What is giving the sun its very existence? What is giving the spider its existence? What is giving the sun its ability to illuminate itself? Or what's giving the spider the ability to create its own web? This is kind of the next step in logic that Lord Brahma will take us to. I think he says later on, when he responds to Narada Muni, he thanks Narada for his questions, and because it allows Lord Brahma to speak about who is actually the cause, or who is the actual source of his own creative potency. And so then later on, Lord Brahma, kind of further expands on this and explains how it may seem that my power, my creative power is only coming from myself, but actually there's someone who's above me that's giving me the ability to do this, which is Lord Krishna. So very interesting verse, because this is how Narada acts. This is Narada's eternal role. He shows up, and whether it's a demon or whether it's a devotee of the Lord, all of Narada's actions are always pointing in the direction of glorifying Krishna. So even when you think about, when I think about like Kamsa, for example, Narada showed up to advise Kamsa in certain ways, letting him know that there's this boy, and kind of encouraging Kamsa to send the demons to kill Krishna. But what was it ultimately all for? It was for Krishna's pastimes, and Narada knew all of this. And so even in this way, Narada continues to kind of facilitate glorification of Krishna by asking his father, Lord Brahma, these questions, seemingly out of ignorance. Oh, it seems like you're the source of everything. It seems like your powers are self-manifest. And in this way, he's setting up Lord Brahma for a perfectly beautiful answer on how actually his powers are coming from the Supreme Lord. So very nice verse, and very important to keep the context. And also very important to have our acharyas explanations on these verses, because let's say that we have the context of this verse, but then we don't have the acharya's explanation. it would certainly be confusing to hear Narada speaking about Lord Brahma in this way without understanding his intention and how this is actually facilitating Lord Brahma ultimately glorifying the Lord himself. So very important things to keep in mind when we study Shastra. Yeah, so that's everything that I wanted to share from this verse today. Does anybody have any comments or questions on this section?
Mukunda, prabhu.
Yes,
Thank you
Prabhu.
for the class today. So
Thank
I was thinking that, for any reason, any pastimes, why Brahma did, he was the Lord of the universe. And then, in fact, he is our Acharya, almost. Brahma from Sampradaya is coming from Brahma, right? So
Yeah.
how can he bewilders himself running behind his daughter, and how can he believe in, bewilders him by kidnapping the pig, the gopas.
Yeah, the cowherd boys and calves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why is it so? And then we called devotees and we are following Brahma. Are you sure? So this comes to the mind. So
yeah.
So it's because he's teaching us the lesson. If you do this, this is what happens, right? Basically, that doesn't mean that he is fallen. And he's teaching us the lesson, and then also to glorify Krishna, that glorify his supremacy of Krishna. That, even though I am a creator, I am nothing in front of Krishna. That's the one which is also showing.
Yeah.
Right. So I was thinking about it as well. Otherwise, why Lord Shiva can give a boon to so many demons, that there is one story that in Krishna book, that what was that, I forgot. He was one person acted like a 400 form. He had a 400 form and he had acted like Krishna, Dwaraka. You remember
is
that?
Is it Panduranga Vasudev, something like that?
Pundraka.
Pundraka. Okay.
Pundraka. Then what happened after Pundraka passed? After Krishna killed Pundraka, his son was very furious. Oh, why can this happen? How can this happen? And then what he did was he prayed Lord Shiva.
Yes.
And then he got the boon that Krishna gave him a boon. Sorry, Lord Shiva gave him a boon that he was a fiery demon, came into place, and if that fiery demon can go and kill Krishna, right? That was the thing. That was the boon given by Lord Shiva.
Right.
And unfortunately, what happened? The Sudarshan Chakra came and it killed this fiery demon. No, sorry, it chased away. And then what happened? Then if that person is not able to kill Krishna, then he has to come back and kill the person who is the originator, creator. So it comes back and kills the son of Pundraka again. So then again, another question came: why did Lord Shiva give this boon? So it's again to feel that supremacy cannot do anything. This is they're all highly elevated souls, but they're enacting in the pastimes of Krishna. So that's what we need to understand.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And in this same regard, I was also remembering this story. We've all heard this story of how is it Brihaspati? I forget which which sage does this, but it's essentially a test to see who is the supreme. And so he goes to Lord Brahma, and what does he do? I think he doesn't bow down or something like that. He doesn't.
He is the Bhrigu Muni. That's Lord Venkateshwara's pastime. If you hear that, if he goes to Brahma, he goes to Shiva, he goes to Vishnu, and then he finally kicked The
Vishnu in the
Vakshasthala of
chest.
Vishnu. Right.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. And in the commentary, there's some commentary on that pastime. And I forget which acharya is explaining like this, but they explain that when he goes to Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, the question comes up, why did they react in the way that they do? I mean, why do they react with so much anger, and why do they feel so disrespected? And it's explained that they don't actually feel that way, but they are reacting in that way in order to glorify Lord Vishnu.
Right.
So this just, to the same point that you're explaining, how Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva and many devotees of the Lord act in different ways in order to, further glorify Lord Vishnu's position.
Right.
Even in Vrindavan, I read in Shivram Swami's Nava Braja Mahima some time ago. There's two different times where Krishna where Krishna saves the residents of Vrindavan from a forest fire. And one of those times when this forest fire comes, the cowherd boys are trapped, and they cry out for help from Lord Krishna, and he saves them. And it's explained how they didn't cry out because they actually are afraid. They're not afraid of anything. They only cried out because they wanted to kind of feed Krishna's heroic, his veer to feed Krishna's heroic tendency, and kind of energize Krishna and make him feel like, okay, I need to save my friends. I need to save them from this fire. So in this way, even all the devotees of the Lord, everything that they do, even when it seems like it's something that, that either they're afraid or they're compromised in some seemingly materialistic way, it's actually acting out of a place of service for the Lord. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Otherwise, why Lord Shiva runs behind Mohini Murti?
Yes. Yeah.
That too, they think that's a joke, right? Not a joke, but basically he's running behind and all his disciples are in front of him. So he goes through him.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Thank you.
Right.
Any other comments? Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Mine too.
Very beautiful and short and sweet all the time. I really appreciate your discussions. Thank you for this, Balram Prasad Prabhu, for sharing this. It's, re-emphasizing what we heard from Gopal Hari Prabhu. And I was appreciating all this discussion, this understanding. Mukunda Prabhu, you were mentioning about the Acharya's commentaries. Even if we know the context, if we don't know the commentaries, we can completely get bewildered and thrown off. And to that point, okay, Acharya is supposed to, really exemplify all the actions, and this is what is happening. So it can completely get us bewildered and, even question our faith. So I was really appreciating that point of abiding and then, constantly being in touch with the Acharya's commentaries. That somehow touched me very much. And also I remember, I think one of the previous classes, Mukunda Prabhu, you mentioned about this lotus. If you are just on the outside, it's very easy for us to get lost. But when we go inside, it's actually glorification of Krishna. These pastimes seemingly like, okay, what is the purpose? What are they really doing? Lord Shiva's or Lord Brahma's. Seemingly not something that we need to hear, or at least for my immature lens, it seems like these are not really important. Why am I have to read or understand things like that? But only when we go inside that lotus, then we can see the beauty and appreciate it so much. Oh wow, this is it's so amazing. So just appreciating that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. The example that Amrita Kalimatri is referring to is, I heard this from Jay Jagannath Prabhu. He compares how sometimes when we read scripture, there's so much, you could say, so much like social commentary, especially from our contemporary acharyas like Bhakti Siddhanta and Srila Prabhupada. There's a lot of social commentary. He would often interject commentary related to politics, religion, humanitarianism, all of these different, like, very kind of modern ideas that not many previous acharyas ever spoken this way, really. But one thing to keep in mind, as Amrita Kalimatri is reminding us, is these are kind of peripheral. These are peripheral ideas that can come up in the context of Shastra, but everything that we read in Shastra should be always appreciated in the context of its most intrinsic nature, which is Shastra is meant to speak about Bhagavan, Bhakti, and Bhakta. So when we read any verse, any commentary related to the Shastra, when we read it with the vision of seeing it in relation to Krishna, his devotees, and the process of practicing bhakti, then everything becomes essential and everything becomes beautiful. And actually it takes us beyond kind of like the divisive kind of thought processes that can come up usually when we do read things about politics or religion or things like that. So thank you Mataji for reminding us of that. Any final comments or questions? Okay, I think we can end there for today. Thank you all very much. Hope you have a good day. Hare Krishna.